What are biopolymers? Biopolymer is a polymer material made by natural polymer or biological sources in cell of living organism. Why are they so special? Because they are biorenewable, biodegradable, and biomaterials. What are the general characteristics of biopolymer? First, they have well-defined and complex structure. Second, non-toxicity because they are made up from biologically processed. Third, they are able to control the rate of degradation. Fourth, cost-effective. And fifth one, they have adequate mechanical strength. Then, how to distinguish between biopolymer characteristics with the natural polymer? First, they degrade spontaneously by hydrolysis in the aqueous environment. Second, spontaneously fold and assemble into precise and highly elaborate. Third, self-protective and partner protective against hydrolysis.
Next, let's study on how does biopolymers actually form. They are universally formed by condensation dehydration, which simply means that they are put together while losing the water. Each of the monomers in this reaction has a hydrogen and hydroxyl group. As you can see, the hydrogen of one monomer will combine with hydroxyl group of another monomer and release a molecule of water. In the reverse reaction, the water is added to break the polymers into the monomers. This is known as hydrolysis. The easiest concept to remember this is hydro means water and lysis refers to break. Here, the monomers share electrons and form covalent bonds. Basically, protein formed by 20 types of amino acids, while polynucleotide and cellulose require only 4 and 1 monomers only. Basically, biopolymers are categorized into 3 groups, consist of polynucleotide, polypeptide, and polysaccharide. Before we go into the details each of them, I will simply brief all groups here. By the definition, polynucleotides such as DNA and RNA is a long polymers that compose 13 or more nucleotide monomers. Its primary proficiency is to maintain, record and transduce information as well as to catalyze the chemical reactions. Meanwhile, the polypeptide or amino acid is a short polymer that measures in amino acid unit. Similar to polynucleotide, it catalyzes and regulates chemical reactions, also provide physical structure. The third one is polysaccharide, which linearly bonding to the sugar unit. For example, carbohydrate molecule that provide energy storage. As monomers of polypeptides, all amino acids contain an amino and carboxyl group. They just differ by R group, which refer to the remainder of the molecule. For your information, the amino group is bonded with carboxyl group of another amino acid by the peptide bond. Meanwhile, the polypeptide backbone is formed as the amino acid create a long chain. Next, moving on to the polypeptide chain: primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. These are the functions of polypeptides. As a transporter, polypeptides enable some substance to pass into the cell through its permeable membrane. On another side, it also acts as enzymes and hormones that speed up the reaction in our body and carry the information from one tissue to another through the blood. From that, proteins can be classified by shape and solubility: globular, fibrous, and membrane.
The second type of biopolymer is polynucleotide. Some simple examples of polynucleotides are DNA and RNA, the very basic building blocks of every single living thing. DNA and RNA are nucleic acid. Nucleic acid are large and complex organic molecules that store and transfer genetic information in the cell. The building blocks of nucleic acid are monomers of nucleotide. A nucleotide is made up of 3 components, which are a nitrogenous base, sugar, and phosphate. The differences of RNA between RNA and DNA are
RNA is single helix, while DNA is double helix. Next, RNA is found in nucleus and cytoplasm of the cell, while DNA is only found in the nucleus of the cell. Lastly, RNA, the function of RNA is it helps to build protein and can act as an enzyme, while DNA stores heredity information. So as you can see in the picture, there are 4 types of nucleotides linked together to form a polynucleotide. In this picture, it shows the structure of a DNA. It is the nucleotides that are linked together are adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine.
Now, let's look at the last class of biopolymer, which is polysaccharide. So what are they? First, a large molecule made of smaller monosaccharide, basically simple sugar. Second, they bind with special enzymes by polymerization. They also called as glycan, and they can be homopolysaccharide or heteropolysaccharide depend on their monosaccharide. So the example of polysaccharide are starch, cellulose, and glycogen. Move on to the structure of polysaccharide. All polysaccharides are formed by the same basic process, which monosaccharides are connected via glycosidic bond, as you can see clearly in this picture. The glycosidic bond between monosaccharides consists of an oxygen molecule bridging 2 carbon rings. Move on to the application of polysaccharide. First, energy storage because they have compact structure. Second, provide support to cells and tissue. Assemble as a long chain of monosaccharide, which it will act as a fiber. And third, cellular communication to send signals between cells. So the example of polysaccharides, first chitin, second cellulose, third glycogen, and fourth starch. Now let's look at polylactic acid, PLA. What is polylactic acid? It is a versatile commercial biodegradable thermoplastic based on lactic acid. Made from dextrose sugar extracted from bio-based materials, lactic acid monomers can be produced from 100% renewable resources like corn and sugar beets. The characteristics are eco-friendly, biocompatible, and processability.
So how about the market trend of biopolymer? Does it widely grow or not? As reported by Model Intelligence, the biopolymer market is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 12.6% over the next 5 years. The Asia-Pacific region is considered to be one largest consumer and producer for the biopolymers globally. The companies in the market study are focusing on increasing the production capabilities of biopolymers. This market covers widely numbers of end users such as pharmaceutical and food beverage industry. In F&B packaging industry, the development of new material is focusing on driving the demand for mono-material and sustainable plastic. The industry aims to reduce food waste by push the market towards sustainability. One simple example is eco-alloy, which refers to the thermoplastic starch that become trend as it made by 100% biodegradable product. Meanwhile, the biopolymers such as gelatin, chitosan, and pectin are extensively used in the pharmaceutical industry, specifically for the production of hydrogel, where at the same time it also creates moist environment for the dry wines. Here, the significant issue for the biopolymer market is the amount of initial investment that is required for the production.
First, synthesis of nanomaterials. Biopolymer is used as capping and reducing agent. Second, water purification. Chitosan is a biopolymer and used as a flocculant in water treatment processes by forming chelates. Third, biomedical, used in tissue engineering, pharmaceutical carriers, and medical devices. And lastly, in food industry as food packaging, food coating, and edible films for food and encapsulation.
Next, we move on to the advantages and the disadvantages of biopolymer. The advantages of biopolymer are it has a lower carbon footprint because it does not require oil refinement process to produce. Second, biopolymer is made from renewable sources. Third, biopolymer is more energy efficient because it requires less energy during the manufacturing cycle. Last, it is more eco-safety because it does not create any carbon dioxide pollution because crops can absorb the carbon dioxide emitted by them instead of getting released into the atmosphere. The disadvantages of biopolymers are first, it is high cost because 50% it is 50% more than the traditional production process. Second, it causes a recycling problem because it has to be disposed in a new way. And then the third point is it reduces raw materials because it uses renewable sources. Lastly, not all biopolymers are compostable. As a summary, we have discussed the definition of biopolymer, which are the polymer material made by natural polymer or sources that form in the cell of living organism. Then we have discussed the types of biopolymer, which are polynucleotide, polypeptide, and polysaccharide. Next, we have also discussed the advantages and the disadvantages of biopolymer, which the advantages are low carbon footprint and eco-friendly. As for these disadvantages, which are high cost and causes recycling problem. And lastly, we have discussed the applications of biopolymer, which is in the synthesis of nanomaterial, biomedical field, food industry, and also water treatment process.